how do you deal with issues of refugees while we still have these guns in some parts of the continent? Are we likely to meet the target of silencing the guns in 2020?
Well, we set the target. I mean, targets are set to kind of push people to a particular, time frame. And we set the targets very optimistically. But as we look at what is unfolding in Africa and the way that we are opting, all of us, for peace as opposed to war, then you can see that we might meet the target of 2020. We've been going through that and almost patting ourselves on the back. We are on the right track. The issue of refugees is a matter that is of great concern, which is why we chose it as a theme for today. It's not just internal refugees, it is also refugees that leave the African continent to go abroad. And as you know, they experience a great deal of hardship. And in most cases, there is almost a right-wing response to them coming into Europe. And I think that Africa is rich enough. We have all the resources. If only we can pull together, stick to our deadline on what to do and what to do at what time. As you know, we have signed the Africa Free Trade Agreement, and so many countries have now deposited. And what is left now is for countries to take it through the parliamentary processes and have it accepted by the parliament and stamped as law in each country. Then we're beginning the process of making sure that Africa can use the resources it has. Instead of exporting them out to the outside world or Europe, wherever it is, we can use them internally. It will also force us to build the necessary infrastructure so that we can trade with each other. When we went through our achievements yesterday, I thought most of us were quite comfortable with the space that we have. If we don't make it by 2020, it will be one or two countries. But so far, the countries that are either going to elections, we have 16 countries going to election. All of them have pledged it will be peaceful elections. We have asked them to make sure that the transition is equally peaceful. And regions have been taking responsibility for creating peace in their own environment. We have a more peaceful Africa now than we had 10 years ago. So our targets seem to be, at that time, optimistic, but very realistic now. We will be dealing with the issue of refugees now, the internal refugees, how to deal with them, and how to make sure that our own citizens accept the refugees who come in, because part of the problem is when the citizens of a country don't accept refugees. So there are certain ways in which we would like to make sure that we have a common approach, also possibly a common culture, so that when refugees come into a country or any country, they understand the culture of that country and abide by the laws of that country and don't exclude themselves, because their own exclusion causes a great deal of suspicion amongst citizens of a country. When you find a place like Hillbrow completely occupied by one nationality, our people don't like that. We would like them to mix. We would like them, for as long as they are given refugee status, to be part of the community, behave like part of the community, and in that way they will not be excluding themselves, nor would the receiving country be excluding them. The case of Europe is a very different one. We just confronted with a situation of a great deal of right-wing governments, and they have no sympathy for what is happening in our continent. That we cannot solve, but we can solve our own economic problems, and we'll be able to absorb our own refugees.
Minister, you spoke about regions making sure that there's prosperity, but also there's peace. The SADC region, the DRC matter, are you optimistic that after the elections everything will run smooth? There are people who are still in exile. You had the SADC meeting 2 days ago.
Yes. You know, if you take things one step at a time, you will realize that what happened in the DRC, despite all the problems associated with it, was a real first. The DRC people do tend to take to the streets. There is a great deal of violence accompanying any election. The 2011-2016 elections were particularly violent in the DRC, and I'm sure you were there to cover them. But this time there has been no violence. It has been a very safe environment for the elections and post the elections. and we're counting that as a success for us. We've committed ourselves to making sure that we're going to assist both the elected president of the DRC, together with the people of the DRC, craft an arrangement where everybody feels that they are included, and everybody feels that the success that has been achieved is they can own that success. But the first prize for us was peace. There is peace in the DRC, and that we must emphasize. It's a first, and we're very glad it happened that way, and we hope it will be a carry through for all other elections in Africa.
And Zimbabwe?
No, I'm not. I'm not pushing for a government of national unity. I don't think anybody has any right over the people of the DRC. They have a constitutional right to decide who runs the DRC, and they do have a constitution that determines how the cabinet is chosen, and they have promised that they will abide by that. Ours is to support them in whatever they do, and support them in a way that actually makes sure that we can retain the peace that there is there. There were a lot of people who were unhappy, but we are hoping that with time, when they see that there is a peaceful arrangement in the DRC, they'll be forced to go back and look forward to a much more settled environment. There's very little that we can do about the elections. The Constitutional Court has decreed, and in terms of the constitution of the DRC, that is the ultimate voice to declare on the elections. We abide by that. We respect that.
This Zimbabwe question, did you touch on Zimbabwe?
We haven't touched on Zimbabwe in plenary, but as you know, we have regions. We had a very, very lengthy discussion as SADC about the issues that are causing problems in Zimbabwe. And we got a very good briefing from President Mnangagwa with no holds barred. And he was very honest with us about what is happening in Zimbabwe. Our job is to assist Zimbabwe as much as we can to get it back to normality. It's only in our interest, it's in the interest of the region.
Minister, South Africa will take over the chair of SADC. No, not SADC, AU next year. In October presidency.
You were supposed to say congratulations before you asked the question. I thought you were going to say congratulations for being elected into the chair for 2020.
Minister, you are going to be in the presidency of UN in October, and then it's AU.
We are not in the presidency of the UN. We are in the Security Council of the UN. And we are doing very well there. We're very proud of our input into the UN Security Council. We are the first vice president right now of the AU, and next year we are the chair of the AU. We're delighted that this honor has been given to South Africa, and we intend to make sure that we carry our job with the kind of responsibility that is put on our shoulders. A great deal is expected of South Africa. We are one of the most stable countries, most stable economies, one of the biggest countries, and we want to make sure that we can give our best to the continent. We were honored when we were chosen as the chair, and we go home feeling very good about it.
That was SADC decision.
That was a SADC decision. What happens is the AU is organized around a regional basis, and the chairship is a rotational matter. And SADC met about 2 days ago, and all concurred that South Africa would be the one that would be put forward as the chair of SADC, of the AU. That is a SADC decision, because it is a Southern African turn now to take the chairship of the AU.
Stage 4 rotation.